Are you seriously accusing me of this? My voice shook as Dana slid the thick folder across the glass table. Inside were my emails, printed and highlighted. Every page twisted my words into something dark. The conference room felt smaller suddenly. My coworkers stared at their hands. The CEO sat at the head of the table, silent and stone-faced. Dana crossed her arms. Her smile was small, but I saw it. Just enough for me to notice, not enough for anyone else. "Anna," she said softly, "if you did nothing wrong, you have nothing to hide." My stomach dropped. She had done it. She had actually framed me. That's when everything clicked into place. I wasn't just being blamed for someone else's mistake. I was the scapegoat she had been preparing for months. Every small slight, every strange meeting, every missing email suddenly made sense. Dana had been building this trap piece by piece, and I walked right into it. But as I sat there, watching her pretend to be concerned, something shifted inside me. Fear turned into something colder, something sharper. She thought this was checkmate. She had no idea the game was just beginning. My name is Anna Pierce. I'm 33 years old, and I've worked at Maybridge Capital for 7 years. 7 years of late nights. 7 years of hitting every deadline. 7 years of building reports that made executives look brilliant in boardrooms. I knew every system in that building, every process, every loophole. Dana Whitmore was my boss. On paper, she was impressive. Ivy League education, quick promotions, always dressed perfectly, always said the right thing in meetings. But I knew the truth. Dana wasn't brilliant. She was smart enough to steal other people's work and smooth enough to make everyone believe it was hers. For years, I told myself it didn't matter. Keep your head down, Anna. Do good work. Eventually someone will notice. But 6 months ago, someone did notice me. And that's when Dana decided I had to go. She didn't fire me outright. That would have been too obvious. Instead, she did something worse. She decided to destroy me slowly, publicly, so completely that no one would ever hire me again. Dana made one critical mistake, though. She assumed I would just take it. It started on a Tuesday morning in March. I had spent 3 weeks building a presentation for our biggest client. Market analysis, risk assessment, projected returns. Every slide was perfect. I had barely slept. The meeting was at 9. At 8:30, Dana called me into her office. "Anna, I'm going to present this one myself," she said, not even looking up from her phone. "You understand, right? The client prefers working with senior management." My chest tightened. "But I built every part of this. And you did great work. That's why I'm confident presenting it." She smiled. "This is how you learn. Watch and observe." I watched. I observed her present my work, my ideas, my 3 weeks of research. When the CEO praised her afterward, she smiled at me across the room. It wasn't a kind smile. It was a warning. Everyone saw it happen. My coworker Jennifer looked away. Marcus pretended to check his phone. No one said anything. I went back to my desk and stared at my computer screen, feeling something crack inside me. The next week, my desk got moved. "We're reorganizing the floor plan," HR said. "You'll be closer to your team now." Closer to my team meant out of the executive wing. Away from the corner offices. Away from the people who made decisions. My new desk was near the break room. Every time someone made coffee, I could hear it. Every conversation, every laugh. I couldn't focus. Dana walked past my new spot that first day. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. The message was clear. Stay small. Stay quiet. Know your place. I wanted to scream. I wanted to march into her office and demand answers. Instead, I smiled and said nothing. But late that night, alone in my apartment, I finally let myself feel it. The anger. The humiliation. I didn't understand then what I was really feeling. This wasn't just about a presentation or a desk. This was about power. Dana was showing everyone that she controlled me, completely. 2 weeks later, the whisper started. "Did you hear Anna was aggressive in the budget meeting?" Someone said near my desk. I hadn't even been in that meeting. "Dana had to redo Anna's entire report last week," another voice whispered in the hallway. That report had been perfect. I had checked it 3 times. At first, I thought people were just gossiping. Then I started noticing a pattern. Every rumor made me sound incompetent or difficult. And every rumor seemed to come from people who had recently met with Dana privately. She was poisoning my reputation. Carefully, quietly, Jennifer finally told me the truth over coffee. Anna, Dana's been saying things. In private Slack messages. Nothing she can get in trouble for, but enough that people are starting to wonder about you. My hands shook around my cup. What kind of things? That you're not ready for leadership, that you need more guidance, that she's been covering for your mistakes to protect you. Jennifer looked uncomfortable. I don't believe her, but not everyone knows you like I do. I thanked her and went back to my desk, my mind racing. 3 months into this nightmare, HR called me. Anna, we'd like to discuss your career path, the HR director said. My heart jumped. Finally, someone had noticed my work. This was about the associate director position. It had to be. We know you applied for the associate director role, she continued. Unfortunately, that position has been filled. The room tilted. Filled. But I thought I was the top candidate. Dana recommended someone else. She felt they were a better fit for the role at this time. I sat there, frozen. Did she say why? She mentioned that you needed more time to develop your leadership skills. The HR director's voice was sympathetic but final. There will be other opportunities. I left that office feeling numb. In the elevator, I caught my reflection in the metal doors. I looked tired, small, defeated. That's exactly what Dana wanted. But as I walked back to my desk, something shifted. The numbness turned into clarity. Dana wasn't going to stop. This wasn't about one presentation or one promotion. She wanted me gone completely. I had 2 choices, leave quietly or fight back. Dana called me into her office the next day. She poured 2 cups of coffee, acting like we were friends. Like she hadn't just destroyed my career prospects. Anna, sit down. She smiled too wide. I wanted to check in with you. I sat, waited. You're talented, really talented. She sipped her coffee. But you need to learn how to work within the system. You can't just expect promotions because you work hard. You need to understand office dynamics. Stay in your lane. Her tone was gentle, motherly almost, but her eyes were cold. I'm trying to protect you, she continued. Some people think you're too ambitious, too pushy. I've been defending you, but you need to make it easier for me. I nodded, smiled, said, I understand. But inside I was screaming. That night, I went home and cried. Just once. I let myself feel the full weight of what was happening. Then I dried my eyes, made tea, opened my laptop. If Dana wanted war, she would get it. But I would fight smart. I started paying attention. Real attention. Dana had a pattern. She would accidentally use my login to approve small vendor payments. $20 here, $50 there. Nothing big enough to trigger alerts. Her assistant would forget to copy me on compliance emails. Then Dana would ask why I hadn't responded to something I never received. She was building a paper trail, making me look careless, unreliable. But she was also getting sloppy. I started screenshotting everything. Every email. Every approval. Every time my login was used when I wasn't in the office. I created a folder on my personal drive. Not my work computer. My home laptop. I backed it up on a USB drive and kept it in my apartment. I called it insurance. Every night, I would add new documents. Timestamped. Organized. Cross-referenced. If Dana was building a case against me, I was building one right back. Then came the Silverpoint deal. $10 million. Our biggest client transfer of the year. The CEO was watching this one personally. Dana assigned me to build all the financial models. This is your chance to prove yourself, she said. For 3 weeks, I worked 16-hour days. Every calculation was perfect. Every projection backed by data. Every risk factor accounted for. When I finished, Dana asked to review everything before submission. Just standard procedure, she said. I need to sign off before it goes to the client. I handed over the files. Every spreadsheet. Every report. She smiled. Great work, Anna. I'll handle the final submission myself. Something in my gut twisted. But what could I say? She was my boss. 2 days later, the transfer went through without any issues. Dana presented the results to the CEO. She didn't mention my name once. I should have been furious. Instead, I felt something else. Dread. 3 weeks later, IT sent me an email. We noticed an unusual approval from your account on the Silver Point transfer. Please confirm this was authorized. My hands went cold. I checked the date. I hadn't even been in the building that day. I had taken my mom to a doctor's appointment. I had proof. I walked straight to Dana's office. Dana, IT is asking about an approval from my account. But I wasn't here that day. She looked up from her computer, confused. Then her face cleared. Oh, that? You must have forgotten. You approved it remotely, remember? I didn't. I wasn't working that day. Her smile was patient. Kind. Anna, you've been so stressed lately. It's understandable that you'd forget small details. I stood there, speechless. She was gaslighting me. Right to my face. That night I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, replaying the conversation. She had used my login. She had approved something in my name. And now she was pretending I had done it. This wasn't about humiliation anymore. This was about setting me up for something bigger. By morning, the rumors had exploded. Anna's in serious trouble. Something about unauthorized approvals. Dana's been protecting her, but she can't anymore. I walked through the office feeling everyone's eyes on me. Some people looked away. Others stared openly. No one asked if I was okay. My inbox started drying up. Meetings I used to be included in suddenly happened without me. Doors literally closed when I approached. Jennifer tried to help. Anna, what's happening? People are saying you might get fired. I didn't do anything wrong, I said. But even as I said it, I could see the doubt in her eyes. Dana had been planting seeds for months. Now the full garden was blooming. I was being isolated. Completely. And there was nothing I could say without sounding desperate. I went home that night and made a decision. No more crying. No more panic. If Dana wanted to play chess, I needed to learn the board. I opened my insurance folder and started really studying it. Not just collecting evidence anymore. Understanding patterns. Building a timeline. Dana had been doing this for 6 months. Every move calculated. But she had made mistakes. Small ones. She had rewritten numbers on reports. I had the originals. She had rerouted transfer approvals. I had screenshots showing the real paths. She had deleted emails. But I had recovered them from my personal backups. Most importantly, she had used her assistant's credentials for some transactions. Her assistant, Emily, was young and scared of Dana. But Emily was also careful. She kept her own records. I didn't know if Emily would help me, but I needed to try. The next day, I caught Emily alone in the copy room. Emily, can I ask you something? Off the record. She looked terrified, but she nodded. Has Dana ever asked you to approve anything using your login while she watched? Emily's face went pale. She didn't say yes, but she didn't have to. For the next 2 months, I became invisible. Deliberately. I smiled. I nodded. I stopped pushing back in meetings. I played dumb when Dana asked me questions I obviously knew the answers to. Everyone thought I had given up, that Dana had won. But I was watching, recording, documenting. Dana started getting comfortable. Sloppy even. She stopped being careful about covering her tracks. She thought I was broken. She approved transfers without double-checking. She left paper trails. She had conversations about me in emails instead of in person. Every mistake she made, I logged it. Timestamped. Cross-referenced with official records. I even set a trap. I created a fake error report in an email thread I knew Dana monitored. I made it look like I had discovered a problem with one of her recent approvals. She took the bait. She deleted the entire thread. But I had copies. And more importantly, I had logs showing she had deleted company records. That was a fireable offense. In July, the company announced a surprise internal audit. Random selection. Standard procedure. Dana laughed when she heard. Nothing to worry about, she told the team. We run a tight ship. But when compliance asked her to provide documentation for the Silver Point transfer, I saw her stumble. Of course, she said smoothly. I'll have everything to you by tomorrow. That night, she called me into her office. Anna, I need you to pull together all the Silver Point files. Everything. By tomorrow morning. I blinked. The files you submitted? Yes. Just get them organized. Her voice was sharp now. Not friendly anymore. I went back to my desk and smiled. She couldn't find the original files. Because she had modified them. And now she needed my copies to cover her tracks. I sent her the files, but not the real ones. I sent her the versions she had already submitted, the modified ones. The next day, compliance found inconsistencies, numbers that didn't match, approvals that came from my account when I wasn't in the building. And Dana couldn't explain them, because the explanation would expose what she had done. The compliance team called me in for an interview. Anna, we found some irregularities in the Silver Point transaction. Several approvals came from your account. Can you explain these? I pulled out my phone, showed them my calendar. I wasn't in the office on these dates. I have proof. Doctor's appointments, bank statements. I can provide security footage showing I wasn't in the building. The investigator made notes. Do you know who might have used your credentials? My password was stored in our shared management system. My supervisor would have had access. I paused. Dana Whitmore. They wrote that down. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. I came to work, did my job, waited. Dana tried to act normal, but I saw the cracks. She snapped at her assistant, made mistakes in meetings, started coming in late. Then one Friday, the CEO called me directly. Not through Dana, not through HR directly. Anna, can you come to my office, please? My heart pounded as I walked to the executive floor. This was it. Either I was getting fired, or something else was happening. The CEO sat behind his massive desk. The CFO was there. So was the head of compliance. Anna, sit down. I sat, kept my hand steady. We've completed the internal audit. The compliance team raised some concerning findings about the Silver Point transaction. He paused. Dana has been unable to adequately explain several discrepancies. I said nothing. Waited. You, however, provided documentation showing you couldn't have made the approvals attributed to your account. You also provided evidence suggesting your credentials were compromised. The CFO spoke up. You kept very thorough records, more thorough than required by company policy. I like to be careful, I said simply. We appreciate that. The CEO leaned forward. Anna, we're placing Dana Whitmore on administrative leave pending a full investigation. In the meantime, we'd like you to take over her responsibilities temporarily. The room spun. Her responsibilities? You know the department better than anyone. You've been doing most of the real work anyway. He didn't smile. We should have noticed that sooner. I walked out of that office in a daze. Not happy, not sad, just numb. Dana was at her desk, packing her things. Security stood nearby. She saw me. Our eyes met. You did this, she whispered. I stopped, leaned closer. No, Dana. You did this. I just made sure everyone could see it. They escorted Dana out that afternoon. Past every desk. Through the main floor. Everyone watched. 4 months, she had humiliated me in front of these same people. Made me feel small. Powerless. Now they watched her leave in disgrace. And they looked at me differently. Not with pity anymore. With respect. Maybe even fear. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. Jennifer came to my desk. Anna, I'm so sorry. We should have said something. We should have stood up for you. It's okay, I said. Though it wasn't. Not really. That weekend, I stayed home. Processed everything. Slept for 14 hours straight. Monday morning, I walked into Dana's office. My office now. Temporarily, they said. But I knew better. The desk was the same. The view was the same. Even some of her folders were still there. I sat down in her chair, opened my laptop, started working. Emily, Dana's former assistant, knocked quietly. Anna, do you need anything? Yes, actually. Can you set up a meeting with the team? I want to introduce myself properly. The investigation took 6 weeks. During that time, I ran the department. Not temporarily anymore. The CEO made it official after week 3. We're impressed with how you've handled this transition, Anna. The role is yours permanently if you want it. I wanted it. But more than that, I had earned it. The investigators found everything. Dana had been manipulating records for over a year. Not just with me. With vendors. With client accounts. With expense reports. She had been stealing. Small amounts. Covered by blaming others when questions arose. I wasn't her first target. I was just the most recent. The other victims came forward once they knew it was safe. 3 people had left the company in the past 2 years because of Dana. All of them filed complaints afterward. All of them were ignored. The company settled with them quietly. Emily finally told her full story. Dana had forced her to approve transactions under threat of firing. Emily had been terrified, but she had kept records too. Together, our evidence built an overwhelming case. Dana tried to fight back. She hired lawyers. She claimed discrimination. She said the company had targeted her because she was a woman in leadership, but the evidence was clear. Numbers didn't lie. Timestamps didn't lie. Her lawyers advised her to settle. Take a severance package. Sign an NDA. Disappear quietly. She refused at first. Demanded a board hearing. The board reviewed everything. Every document. Every witness statement. It took 4 hours. When they came back, their decision was unanimous. Immediate termination. No severance beyond what was legally required. A permanent mark on her employment record. Dana tried one last time to blame me. Anna Pierce orchestrated this. She manipulated records to frame me. The board chair cut her off. Ms. Whitmore, Ms. Pierce's documentation shows she acted entirely within policy. You, however, did not. This hearing is concluded. Security escorted her out. For the second and final time. I heard later that she couldn't find work in finance anymore. Word spreads fast in our industry. 6 months later, I sat in my office, reviewing quarterly reports. The office Dana had fought so hard to keep. The position she had destroyed others to protect. My team was thriving. Not because I was brilliant, but because I listened. Because I gave credit where it was due. Because I created space for others to succeed. Emily became my assistant. She was thriving too. No more fear. No more anxiety. She had even started taking night classes to finish her MBA. Jennifer got promoted to senior analyst. The position I should have had a year ago. I made sure she got it. The Silver Point client sent a letter of appreciation. They had heard about the internal changes. They appreciated the renewed commitment to integrity and transparency. The CEO called me to his office again. Anna, the board wants to offer you a seat on the executive committee. You'd be our youngest member, and our first woman in this particular role. He paused. You've earned it. I thought about saying no, about staying comfortable, about not pushing too hard. Then I thought about the Anna from a year ago. Small desk near the break room, watching someone else take credit for her work. Too scared to fight back. I accept, I said. My first executive committee meeting was strange. I sat at the table with people who had ignored me for years, who had watched Dana destroy me and said nothing. Now they asked for my opinion. Listened when I spoke. Took notes on my suggestions. Power changes everything, even how people remember the past. After the meeting, the CFO pulled me aside. Anna, I owe you an apology. I saw what was happening with Dana. I should have investigated sooner. Yes, I said simply. You should have. He looked uncomfortable. Good. But I'm glad you're here now, he added. I wasn't interested in his guilt or his approval. I was interested in making sure it never happened again. I want to implement a new whistleblower protection policy, I said. And I want mandatory ethics training for all managers. Can I count on your support? He nodded quickly. Absolutely. Change doesn't happen because people suddenly become good. It happens because someone makes it uncomfortable to stay the same. 1 year after Dana's departure, the company asked me to speak at new employee orientation. I stood in front of 50 new hires, eager faces, fresh starts, just like I had been 7 years ago. Welcome to Maybridge Capital, I began. My name is Anna Pierce, and I'm the Executive Director of Finance. I told them about the company's values, about integrity, about accountability, but I also told them the truth. If you see something wrong, report it. If someone takes credit for your work, document it. If you feel unsafe or unsupported, speak up. The company has policies to protect you now. After the session, a young woman approached me. She looked nervous. Miss Pierce, thank you for that. My last job, my boss took credit for everything I did. I left after 6 months. This is my second chance. I saw myself in her eyes. Document everything. I told her. Always keep copies. And never let anyone make you feel small. She nodded, relieved. I walked back to my office, thinking about Dana. She had tried to end my career. Instead, she had handed me hers. Sometimes, late at night, I wondered if I should feel guilty. Dana lost everything. Her job, her reputation, her career. But then I remember the fear, the isolation, the way she smiled while destroying me piece by piece. I remember the other victims, the ones who left quietly, the ones who never got justice. No, I didn't feel guilty. Dana made her choices. She chose to steal, to lie, to hurt people. Those choices had consequences. I didn't destroy her. She destroyed herself. I just made sure everyone could see it clearly. And that's not revenge. That's justice. The difference matters. 2 years later, the company announced record profits. My department was leading the growth. The CEO retired. The board offered me his position. I said no. Not yet. I wasn't ready. Maybe someday. But not yet. Instead, I focused on mentoring. On building systems that protected people like me. Like Emily. Like Jennifer. I created a program for junior analysts. They got real assignments, not busy work. They got credit for their ideas. They got support when they struggled. The program was named after me. The Pierce Fellowship. Dana's name had been on an award once. They quietly retired it. Now mine was everywhere. On programs. On policies. In the company newsletter. Not because I demanded it, but because I earned it. 5 years after that terrible morning in the conference room, I stood in Dana's old office. My office. The view hadn't changed. The city still sparkled below. The glass still reflected everything clearly. But I had changed. I wasn't the scared woman who let others take credit. I wasn't the person who stayed quiet to keep the peace. I had learned that silence protects the wrong people. That documentation is power. That patience wins wars. My assistant knocked. "Miss Pierce, the board meeting is in 10 minutes. "Thank you, Emily." I gathered my files, straightened my jacket, looked at my reflection one last time. People think revenge is about destruction, about tearing someone down. But real revenge, the kind that lasts, isn't about what you take from someone else. It's about what you build for yourself. Dana wanted to destroy me. Instead, she showed me exactly how power works, how systems can be manipulated, how careful documentation defeats even the most careful criminal. She taught me everything I needed to know to beat her. And then she handed me the keys to her kingdom. I walked out of my office, toward the boardroom, toward whatever came next. Behind me, the city stretched endlessly, full of possibility, full of new challenges. Dana was somewhere out there, probably still bitter, still convinced she was the victim. But I wasn't thinking about her anymore. I was thinking about the next person who needed protecting, the next system that needed fixing, the next fight worth fighting, because that's what power is really for. Not revenge, justice. And I was just getting started.